Oh my goodness. Happy Thursday to every beautiful body out there. My name is Blair G. Hervey. I am the founder and CEO of The Corporate Strategist. As always, I'm joined by my colorful co-host, my bestie and soul friend of 20 plus years, the corporate strategist, independent consultant, DEIBA speaker, self-proclaimed diversity geek, D'Angelo Crane. Hi, D.
Hello, Blair Herbie. How the heck are you doing today?
I mean, we'll get into all that, but I'm super fantastic. If I was any better, I would be like twin buns, like that are on my
Or you would be my Maxine to my cow. There's no people know what I'm talking about. Maxine the cow. Do y'all know what that is?
living. Hey,
There
yeah.
you go. Oh, okay. There you go. I'm glad you're on it today. Well, Blair, I'm always excited, thrilled, happy, delighted to be here on the Black Diva Collective stage to bring a little light, love, and laughter to the good people as always. And so, yeah, it's a good day. You got a new hairstyle again today. Every day you give us new whips and dips. I whip my hair back and forth, and you give it to the kids.
I mean, always. But anywho, I'm glad you are here as always. But also, let's extend a big welcome to our guest, John Louvlin. We are so excited to have you. Is it Louvlin or Lullin?
Lullin, thank you for asking.
Of course, I like to be loud and wrong most of the time, but it is very important to ask. You don't just nickname people out here. I think some people have a problem with that, right? But nonetheless, let's get into our sunny segment. I'm feeling the energy radiating already from you, D'Angelo, even though you are wearing funeral colors for us to, well, not funeral, because black is timeless. Let's be clear.
Hey, I'm wearing you know what color I'm wearing today? It fits. If it fits with a color. I'm at the age now, I'm a man of a certain age. So whatever's in my closet that fits over the stomach, it's going on me. So here you go. So, and that's how I'm doing today. All right, you all. Well, we do this every day here at the Black Diva Collective is we call it the art of the check-in. It's a moment where we just really ask some really more deeper, in-depth questions of our guests and each other to really understand how we're feeling. And it's also a space where we're setting up the space for empathy, vulnerability, and openness, and being authentic for people to say, I'm not good, I am good, and this is why. And why do we do that? Because we're asking leaders to do that each and every day. If we want to start building a better place of belonging, we really need to start with getting to know our people and understanding what is plaguing them inside work and outside of work. So we're going to practice that right now. John, how's your heart, how's your mind, how's your soul today?
My heart, my mind, my soul, everything is wonderful. Full of gratitude, blessed, healthy family, healthy children, and my son graduated from pre-K today. So can't go wrong.
Congratulations. That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, off to kindergarten next year, huh?
Yep, off to kindergarten.
Are you ready for this? Was it the whole situation?
I'm ready for it. I don't know if my wife is ready for it.
Okay, that's awesome.
The attachment we have as mothers. Listen.
Blair, how's your heart? How's your soul? How's your mind? How's this updo today? What do you have? Do we have two little situations? Or is it, what do you call this updo?
We've got two like little Princess Leia buns, but they were separated. It was giving me Minnie Mouse. So I pushed them together. Now, if y'all know anything about me, I wear this charm every single day because my mother was a hairstylist, right? She passed away unexpectedly when I was 12 years old. But before she did, she gave one of these charms to every stylist in the salon. So most recently, one of those stylists gave me his charm. So I say all that to say I am with her she's with me every single day. And thus I carry the spirit of Rosetta D. Hervey. And I'm always given a different look. But yeah, I'm feeling great. Super fantastic. The people in the audience are loving us as well, just so you know that. They said it's a production.
Oh my goodness. I did not know. I know so much. I mean, we talk every day. I know so much about you, but I learned something new about you every day. I never heard that story before. Yes. So that'll give me the crying. That's okay. Okay. Pull it together.
See you cry again.
No, I don't like to
do. D'Angelo, tell us how's your head, how's your heart, how's your wardrobe? You're giving us a look with these frames as well.
I try to, and I have on. You can't see the detailing on the shirt. It has little studs on it, so it's a fun shirt. At least it's a little fun. I am all over the place today. There's a lot going on with me in my life, but always fun times. So I'm all over the place, but I'm here at this moment, present as much as I can be to engage with you all, because that's what it's about. This next 25, 30 minutes. But after that, I will go back to my 1,001 things I'm doing in life. I think that's the call.
Well,
so that's all.
I feel you. Thank you for being vulnerable, because we know it's not easy. We are all wearing a lot of different hats. We're all juggling a lot of different balls. But this place is, for this particular intention, is to refuel us, not necessarily get us back on track, but of course we can regroup. And of course, the folks in the audience too, they're saying that they're feeling great and they love being here with us as well. Feel free.
All here for John. They're all here for John today. It's so great. I hope they keep following us after this. Continue to come back.
Absolutely. And feel free to share in the comments how you all are feeling as well. But let's go ahead and get into this. If you're not familiar with John, again, thank you again for joining us for this valuable conversation. But from what I understand, you're originally from Tampa, Florida. You live in Stamford, Connecticut with your wife, Randy, and your children. John is also a marketplace diversity leader at Tech Systems, executive board member for Blacks in Technology, NYC, and fitness enthusiast. Additionally, John has also been a hiring manager that incorporated inclusive hiring practices, has also been an ERG leader and a customer engagement leader focused on building equitable attraction and retention programs. Welcome again, John.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. It sounds like the work that you have been doing has definitely put you in the forefront in a lot of different spaces. It's been people focused, but in your own words, tell us about the work that you do and what was that pivotal moment that said, you know what, this is the space that I need to be in and how I need to move forward.
Yeah, the work that I do. So let me back up, because it's been a lot. I'm actually celebrating my 10-year anniversary. I'm looking up at my calendar. I think it's tomorrow.
Okay,
it should be.
Congratulations.
That'll be 10 years. I was actually recruited into the company. So anyone that's listening is not familiar with Tech Systems. Tech Systems is a company that's been around for over 4 decades. And we're a global business and technology services company, helping clients all across the globe with business transformation, customer experience goals, and access to talent and solving talent challenges, right? So I got recruited into the company back in 2013. I was actually a technical recruiter for 2 years. I always wanted to do more, right? So I moved into an account executive role. I wanted to get into leadership. So I had an opportunity to move from Florida to Albany, New York to be a sales manager, move from Albany, New York to Stamford, Connecticut to be a business operations leader. And while in Stamford, Connecticut was one of those pivotal moments or marker events where I realized it was probably time for me to move into my passion, which is diversity and inclusion. I have not been a DEI practitioner by trade. It's all lived experience and passion prior to me being in the role that I'm in now. And how I would describe my work, I mean, I've been the only Black person in the room personally and professionally more times than I can count.
Right.
I've experienced exclusion and discrimination. So when I talk about the lived experience, when the opportunity presented itself for me to move into Tech Systems Marketplace Diversity Solutions team at the end of 2021, it was a say less moment, a no-brainer moment. Like it didn't require a lot of thought. Of course, I spoke to my wife, but it didn't need to be a lengthy conversation about it. It was, okay, you should have been in that role yesterday, so let's roll, sort of thing, right? I love what I do. You know, I get a chance to wake up, talk to organizations about intentional diversity and inclusion efforts to not only attract but retain people of color, people from historically marginalized populations into their environment. And honestly, it's not work for me. This is fun. Whether I'm in a client-facing meeting, coaching my peers and partners internally, or at a networking event, I'm talking about something that I love. Just as much as I love fitness, like you said, Blair, and y'all could probably see the sneakers behind my head. So you already know what time it is there.
Fitting right in. I'm in Portland, Oregon, so not too far from Beaverton, aka Nike Town.
There you go.
Yes, we can definitely relate. And I think we can also relate to, you know, following our passion, following our heart, and leveraging our lived experiences and letting that translate into transferable skills that can take us further into this work. So I'm really excited to get into this conversation. Dee, you want to take us down that lane?
Yeah, sure. In the words of Mary J. Blige, take me as I am. Right now, I was reading some stats on this, and over about 52% of African Americans who they did in this study said they are hiding information at work from fear of being stereotyped or being discredited at work. So they're hiding a part of themselves that they don't feel like they can share fully or fully engage with their other colleagues and sharing personal things about their personal life or even stories about other things that are happening with them, right? And oftentimes we're having to go to work. Blair and I talked about this last week, and we're having to code switch, right? Because of the bias and microaggressions that happens when we're fully being ourselves at work. So today we're leaning into this conversation about being our full authentic self at work. Can we really do that? How do we go about doing that? What does it mean to fully be authentic at work? And I'll tell you, John, this is my life's work, right? Is to really continue to work on, but we're all doing it, to continue to work on how do other employees, or all, especially Black employees, be their authentic selves at work, be their whole self, and be appreciated for all that they are. But, there's a lot of conversation around what does it mean to be your authentic self. So I want you to kind of tell us, when you think about being your full authentic self, what does that mean? And can we fully be our authentic self at work every day?
Yeah, it took me a while to get there, D'Angelo. It took me a long time. I'm still working on it, to be honest with you. I wish I came up with the phrase that I'm about to say, but I didn't. It was someone on LinkedIn. Hopefully he watches and knows that I'm not trying to take credit for this phrase. But this was during the height of the pandemic. A gentleman made a post on LinkedIn, and it said, "Authentic is a new professional." And he was wearing a hoodie, and he was in a high profile sales role. And he had an elaborate post about how important that is, that folks see him as he is when he's not logged on in a meeting or when he's not in the office. And that hit me, that hit home, because I have covered, code switched more than I would like to admit. When I first came into the organization, I was the only person that looked like me on the team for a period of time. So I struggled for a number of reasons, but I didn't feel like I had the opportunity, the platform, the people to connect with on why I was struggling. Part of it was my own doing. I had to participate in my own rescue, but I also didn't know if I should look left or right. And it was things like me keeping my hair cut low, right? Not wearing my earrings, knowing that the company knew I had tattoos for probably 2 years. I would put on the voice or code switch with my tone and how I communicated internally and externally, because I thought I had to be taken seriously. And there were a couple of things, Blair, you asked about a pivotal moment. Another one that I can think of is this was probably in 2015, Black leader in our organization. We had a national sales conference. I can't remember if it was Dallas or Denver. And at the time I was an account executive / multicultural ERG leader for Tampa, Florida. And we're at this event. We're at one of the after parties. And he takes off his tie and he rolls up his sleeves, tatted neck down. And I had no idea. And some people may say, well, that's such an insignificant thing. Like, why did that impact you? It impacted me because I have a lot of tattoos.
Exactly.
And I was covering, and representation matters. So when I saw that, instantly it clicked. And I think I said something like, we can do that here. And he was like, do what? What are you talking about? And I explained what I meant. And he was like, man, nobody cares about that. And that was it from there. Like, that was the beginning of me transitioning into moving into my authentic self slowly, keyword slowly, because I told y'all it's been a 10-year journey. And to answer the question, I think not only okay, let me back up. Yes is my answer. First of all, yes, we can show up our authentic self. And I think it's extremely important that we do so.
Yes.
Again, because representation matters, and there are going to be people in the organization, or might already be there, that are going to look to Blair, look to D'Angelo, look to John to see what we're doing, because they might be in a different role, but they want to do what we're doing one day. And if we're not showing up as ourself inside of work and outside of work, they are going to do the same things that I did, speaking for myself, code switching and covering, wearing our hair differently, speaking differently, covering up tattoos or piercings, because in fear of that we might not be taken seriously. And over the last couple of years, what I've realized is, don't worry about the fact that I have tattoos, or that I love sneakers, or that I'm wearing a sweater without a collared shirt. Worry about the content that's coming out of my mouth and the value that I could bring to the organization.
That's right.
If I look presentable, whether I have on a suit and facial hair or not, but you understand the message and you can receive my message and you see me as a partner that can help you with your organization, let's move forward on that. So D'Angelo, I would say, yes, we have to. I know it's not easy. It's a journey, but we have to step out of that and recognize that, again, being authentic is a new professional. And man, I wish I coined that. But like I said, I didn't.
I love that. Well, somebody better, because I'll put it on a t-shirt real fast. I'll just
Right.
put it out there and then wear it to work. When I think about everything that you said there, I mean, I'm sure D'Angelo can relate. I'm definitely going down memory lane and thinking about how we definitely navigated those pressures to conform to those societal expectations. Again, whether it was hair or, I have a sleeve that I always forget about for some reason, because it's just a part of me. I'm tatted. It is what it is. But covering for a little while, or thinking about piercings and things of that nature. But you also mentioned that there was someone at that event that rolled up his sleeves and revealed his tattoos. Let me ask you, was this person Black, or were they? Yes. They were Black.
Yes, he was. Okay. It was a Black guy, Black leader in the company. So that's when it hit me. That's what I was saying, representation matters. So I instantly saw a part of myself in someone that at the time was 2 to 3 levels from a tenure and leadership perspective higher than I was. Gotcha. So it hit me like, okay, it's time for me to follow suit with my authenticity the same way this individual was.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. So what I'll say that oftentimes I come from a tech space and a sales space as well. That's a luxury to be able to see not only someone that you relate to because of one particular dimension of diversity, but particularly because of their ethnicity or their gender. I know for me, especially being a Black woman, but when you're looking around at these leaders, you're also noticing that these non-Black leaders navigate these complexities differently. So for anyone that's not familiar, what do you think is different for those Black leaders who show up in their full authenticity versus any other leader who feels free to do that?
I think it's a personal choice and lived experience. It also depends on the access that you've gotten throughout your career in a particular organization. Because still to this day, I think we would all agree that there are many leaders of color that are still code switching and covering on a daily basis, right? So speaking for myself, I think what really helped me is the access that I was granted early on, right? In my particular office when I started and on my core team, there was not anyone that looked like me. I think it might have been me being 18 months into my career, I got introduced to what would end up being my future sponsors and mentors and soon to be friends that look like me, Black individuals, Black leaders in the company that have been here for a long time. So I was very appreciative that my leaders at the time that did not identify as Black had the wherewithal and understood that, hey, representation is important. So rather than having John quit because he doesn't think he can thrive in this organization, it's important that we introduce him to other leaders inside of the organization that understand what covering and code switching is. And one of them, if he's listening, I don't know if the man has code switched a day in his life. And he and I have had a number of these conversations about why. I've asked him the same question that you just asked me, Blair. And he kind of responds with, take me as I am. I'm going to lead a team effectively. I'm going to help with the strategy. I'm going to help with business transformation. I might say it with an accent. I might add a couple jokes in there. But at the end of the day, when you look at the back of the baseball card, as some people would say, or when you look at my statistics, it's going to be a track record of success, regardless of how I presented myself or didn't conform to the standards that maybe corporate America wanted me to conform to. So it all depends on lived experience, in my opinion.
Love that. That's great. I love that about lived experience. And I think I come from the reference point. I always tell people that my mother never gave me an option of being anyone else but who I am. And so I walked through life and navigated life that way. And sometimes we talked about this earlier this week, there were some trade-offs that I had to give with that. And so I want to talk about that a little bit because I think that there is some privilege in the fact that we're leaders on the phone and we're speaking from a space of being authentic as a leader, right? That means we've kind of been in the trenches. We've kind of done some of the work. We're not in an entry-level role. But if you're an individual contributor or you're just joining an organization, how do you navigate, or what are some things that you should be thinking about doing when you're thinking about, I want to be my authentic self, but also need to conform to the organizational culture? So how do you do that? How do you do both when you're coming into an organization as a new employee or a new career, right?
So I'm going to challenge the last statement, if that's okay.
Yeah, please do.
I don't love the idea of conforming to culture because culture fit negates diversity completely.
Yep.
Companies, so I'm going to speak to hiring leaders that might be listening to the call. We should be focusing on culture fit. So to answer your question, D'Angelo, it's not just on that person. Yes, we have to participate in our own rescue, but it starts with the organization and their overall talent, attraction, and retention strategy. And I talk about this a lot, right? When you think about, I'm going to give some data real quick. When you think about IT, the IT industry, which is my world, right? So in my role, we talked a little bit about my work. I support big tech and technology software services companies. So when you look at the demographics that exist in the IT workforce across the nation, we're talking about 25 to 26% women. That I say 25 to 26 because it hasn't really gone, the needle hasn't really moved in the last 2 to 3 years. People that identify as Black, we're talking about 8%. People that identify as Hispanic or Latinx, we're talking about 8%. So that Black at 8%, that number has not moved in the last couple of years, despite all these commitments that the companies have made. So again, yes, we have to participate in our own rescue, but companies should be focusing on a culture add, not a culture fit.
That's right.
That starts with the job description. Inclusive language or lack thereof can hinder your ability to retain people that identify as Black, right? So we got to start at the job description level. Then we need to look at, okay, if I have a diverse slate of candidates interviewing for a role, my organization should be able to have a diverse slate of interviewers so that that person that's interviewing for the job sees representation from the jump.
That's right.
If it exists, right? That's an extremely important component. Now, what does that onboarding plan look like? Have you talked to this individual about the ERGs and employee networks inside the organization, right? Have you started to talk about sponsorship and mentorship and career road mapping with this person? If you haven't, they're going to fall into that bucket, D'Angelo, where you're talking about, where now I need a job so bad. So now I am covering, now I'm code switching, and I'm here for maybe 18 months. I quit. I go somewhere else. They want me to fit into their culture. They want me to conform, assimilate. I quit. I go somewhere else. And it's a vicious cycle, right? So that's why I said I want to challenge that statement and really speak to employers, because employers are the ones that need to drive change in their overall talent strategy to truly retain people from marginalized communities and remove some barriers.
No, I agree with everything you're saying. I believe I did a whole session on culture added, not culture fit, but it's about the education of leaders understanding that, right? Because leaders, they look this way, right? That's why we have very homogenous organizations, because they empower their friends. So how might we look around and look at what we're missing on our teams that we need to add? And that could be a plethora of things, right? From your education level to where you're from to your expertise, right? And so I think you're right about how do we look at other places for talent? How do we make sure we have the talent that's breeding new talent into the organization is diverse? And like I said, that leaders are trained to think differently about talent. Because oftentimes we say, if you think about job recs, they often say we need a college degree. Well, how long have you said that in the job rec? Is this really true? Or do we need someone who is familiar with the work or knows how to do the actual process of the work, but not the actual, does that require a degree really for the work? So I think we got to think, to your point, think differently, organization, but teaching our leaders how to think differently. Yeah. I
know we only have 30 minutes, but I want to hit on something else that you just said, D'Angelo. I feel like we already know each other because you're speaking my language right now. I got a lot of things I want to talk about. The only additional thing that I was going to add is you talked about the degree. That degree requirement, that also negates diversity. It's a hindrance. A lot of people don't understand that. Unfortunately, I have a degree. There's nothing against higher education, secondary education. I have no qualms with it at all. But at the same time, when you think about attracting people from diverse pools, a lot of organizations still don't understand that over 70% of the Black community don't even have a bachelor's degree, unfortunately. And when you look at the graduation year ending, I think it was 2020 for STEM degrees, there was like 97,000 computer science degrees awarded. 8% of them went to the Black community, right? So now you have this degree requirement. To your point, it's like, where are we going with this? What's the ultimate goal?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, well, speaking of which, I definitely most recently wrote a book called Making 100K Without a Degree. And so I talk about, yes, those unconventional paths. If you're interested in the pre-sale, making100kbook.com. But I think about that, but I also think about, okay, once I become a leader, I have taken this unconventional path or whatever the case may be. I'm in the space, I'm being my authentic self. My authenticity is my professionalism. That's how people know me. That's great. A lot of folks come to me either for coaching for personal branding or that external confidence and thought leadership as well. So in your experience, what are other strategies or other lanes of not showcasing, but demonstrating authenticity externally as a thought leader? So I'll just piggyback just so you know what direction I'm headed. Like as an example, whether it's LinkedIn posts or whether it's during 2020 and deciding to take a stand as aligning with BLM, how can I as a leader continue to flex that authenticity outside of work as well?
Yeah, so you hit on the first one, which this is obviously how the three of us got connected, LinkedIn. I'm big on showcasing my brand on LinkedIn because I'm in a customer engagement role and I'm building relationships with tech systems, current and prospective clients. So for me, that LinkedIn is an important tool for the people that I know and the people that I hope to know, that they see me. Right? That they don't see my title at Tech Systems, but they see a person that they can build a relationship with. So yes, Blair, I agree with that. The second is being intentional about going to diverse conferences and networking events, right? And having intentional relationships and partnerships with whether it's nonprofits or diverse organizations from a workforce development perspective. But I think getting out there, and when I say intentional, I'm talking about moving beyond philanthropy because that's extremely important. Yeah. The giving is huge, but when you want to showcase your authenticity, you are out there. You are a speaker at these events as a thought leader. And as a speaker at these events, you are granting access to John, D'Angelo, and Blair that might only have a year of professional experience. We want to talk to you, but we're extremely nervous. So you have to put yourself out there, give the knowledge, but then at the same time, be intentional about pulling up a chair next to someone that was sitting in the audience that's like, dang, I really want to meet Blair, but I'm so nervous right now, I'm shaking. Yes. So I think being involved, being in the community, aside from posts on social media, is extremely important.
Oh, I really love that. It goes back to that word that you use, access, for sure. Because sometimes people on stage, they seem so far away, or people on social media with thousands or hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of followers. But when you sit there and make that connection with people, then that's when you can truly make an impact as well. Thank you, John.
Absolutely.
And I know I'm always excited when people do that. So it's always, I'm like, yes. I want to go so many places, John, but I'm just going to ask you a fun question. And if Blair has a more serious question, what is your go-to sneaker?
Oh, my go-to sneaker. Yeah. Can I grab it?
Sure.
Go for it. What's your go-to sneaker?
This one in about 13 different colors, Jordan 1.
I like the high tops myself, right? Is that what I wear, Blair? The Dunks? Is that what it's called? Okay. Okay, good.
If there are any sneakerheads listening, yes, I wear mids. I wear lows, mids, and highs. Don't judge me.
I mean, I wasn't gonna say anything at all. I'm glad you called it out. I won't.
You laughed at me, Blair. You laughed. You covered your mouth.
I said, oh, okay. I wish I could go grab the sneaker that I just bought. It's still in the box just because I am a total fan. I love Tiana Taylor.
Okay.
And yes, her Jordans just came out, her Rose in Harlem Jordan. So maybe I'll have to bring them on and show them as well. We should talk to some sneakerheads. Well, plus John.
Of course.
Well, this has been a lovely conversation. It's been fun. It's been enlightening. We appreciate it. Looks like the audience has loved it as well. So thank you for your influence and your guidance on this topic, John. D'Angelo, before we head out, do you have a shout out of the day for us?
I do. I have a shout out to really quickly all of our listeners today. I have all of you all who are listening. We want you to come on the show. Once again, we always say this is a space for anyone that's uplifting the Black community, because I see Steven out there who does fantastic hair in the Louisville area. We need you to come on and talk to us on this show. If you're lifting up the Black community, you got something to say, come on this show and be a guest. And someone who is doing fantastic work in the Black community here in Washington, D.C. is Ron David. He's a designer and a creative director of Ron David Studios. He owns a clothing store here and also a design studio in Washington, D.C. And we're trying him out because he's about to open up a second location in Potomac, Maryland. So if you want to follow him on Instagram, it's Ron David Studio. He's doing some fantastic work here in the community. So that's my shout out of the day.
Fantastic. Well, I went ahead and dropped a link to the speakers forum. So again, for anyone that has something to share with the Black community or about the Black community, make sure that you fill out that form and join us. We are here every single weekday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for your daily dose of D&B with DMB on the Black Diva Collective. Thank you all. Have a great day. And thank you again, John. Y'all have a great week.